What if the best thing you could ever invest in isn't your house, isn't the latest car, and isn't the latest AI model in your business? Maybe the greatest thing you could ever invest in is yourself. Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast. My name is Harry Purdy. I'm an author, I'm a podcast host, I'm a coach, and I've got a podcast that's over 200 episodes long now. And I want to talk to you about why the greatest thing you could ever invest in is yourself today. I want to share with you on the latest solo episode of the 100% podcast, 10 reasons why investing in yourself now is the thing that you must do. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. One of the things that I have found being the best impact of my journey since 2020, when I fully started to dive into the books, the podcast, the lessons, the taking on my own challenges, going further within myself and my fitness, going on meditation retreats, creating my own journal, all of those things that I've done and learned along the way, is that when you become more self-aware, when you have learned a lot about yourself, when you have created goals that not only you complete but you inspire other people, you start to stop relying on outer influences to make you happy. Now, what I mean by that is when I was younger and when I was less aware, I would rely on other things too much to influence my mood. So maybe it would be the news, maybe it would be my favourite football team winning, obviously really important to me still, but definitely more in control of my emotions. Maybe it would be my emotions themselves, that I would give them too much grace for how I would feel and go about my day. So if I woke up in a bad mood, I would think that would be it, and that would be the end of kind of my day that day, because I was in this bad mood, and I would give it too much grace to control what actions I would take. And I think we're all guilty of this sometimes. I think we can all be guilty of the media. We can all be guilty of our friends. We can all be guilty of our families. We can all be guilty about our partners' moods and actions dictating how we feel. And self-development and working on yourself, like, without sounding too wanky with this, because some of this is going to sound wanky and that's just the way that it is, it can help you stop relying on those outer influences to make you happy, because you have the tools and you have the skills to know how to make yourself happy. Number 2, you have the skills to get balanced. So one of the greatest lessons that I ever experienced with self-development is that when I was inexperienced and when I didn't know enough about myself, this would be dictated by being happy and being sad, and not understanding that kind of sad was a regular emotion of life. Like, one of the analogies I've heard about it in the whole world is that life is like a river, and there's no river in the world that isn't bendy and doesn't meander and doesn't get faster at times and doesn't slow down and doesn't turn into a stream and doesn't then eventually get itself into an ocean, and maybe over like, what's the word I'm looking for, waterfalls and white water rafting and all of those kind of things, the rocks and all of the different journeys that you can undertake or partake in when you go along a river. And that's the way that we need to think about our lives. And when you experience and practice meditation, you can experience the fact that it isn't necessarily happy that you want to feel all the time, and it isn't sadness that you want to avoid all the time, because without either emotion you'd never know what one felt good. And if you were to feel happy all the time, you wouldn't know that you'd feel happy, right? And I feel like, and I've experienced that when you are more aware, that balanced feeling, not feeling elated, not feeling excited, not feeling over the moon, not feeling like you're smashing it all the time, and not feeling like the world's going to end, and not feeling sad or not feeling low or depressed or whichever it is, just being in the middle is the feeling that you want. And when you are in the middle, it means, again, that you can be affected less by what's going around you. Number 3, one of the best things about personal development and my journey is that it's allowed me to become a version of myself that other people rely on. They get a better version of me than what they would have got 10 years ago. 10, even, let's just say last year. Like, because I've got probably a little bit more growth within me since last year. And that's really cool, right? I've learned enough to not get frustrated all the time, or not get frustrated or annoyed as much as I used to. I've been told that I'm more reliable than I used to be. I am very much more in control of my emotions than I used to be. You know, like I used to be up and down. I used to let things affect me. I used to let my own mistakes nibble at me. I used to let other people's mistakes nibble at me, or insults or whatever. And actually, I don't do that as much anymore. I still have the odd tendency to ruminate about stuff, and I still have the tendency to, you know, I'm not perfect, and this is by all means not what this podcast is supposed to be explaining. It's supposed to be explaining how this can benefit you, and the way that it can benefit you is that the people that you love can get a better version of you, and it's as simple as that. And then when you become more reliable, how does that make you feel? It's not going to make you feel worse, is it? So that's the next one. Next one. When I first started my journey of mindset and self-development and working on my mental health, I definitely felt stuck. And this is something I speak about with my clients, with other people around how do you actually do it? How do you take control a little bit more? And what self-development does is it gives you the grace to not be stuck anymore. You can learn the skills, which obviously I share on a regular basis: journaling, goal setting, just taking one small little bit of action, not expecting perfectionism, not expecting perfect from you, how to avoid procrastination, how to get a little bit more confidence, how to gain that bit of self-trust, is what happens when you go on a journey that you're genuinely happy to say, you know, you're drawing a line in the sand and you're going to take a step forward. Again, the book will allude to that. And if you want to buy my book, which is going to share more of the skills and tricks and the tools that I utilize within my coaching, you can go over to Amazon. From 0 to 100, stop stopping and start building something that sticks. It's available on Amazon as a Kindle at the minute, and it's within my midst to create a paperback book that's better than this one here, because I don't like that one. But all of those tools are in that book, and you can get them, all of the free content I've done. So check out other episodes of the podcast and stuff. But when you start to take self-development seriously, when you are, 6 months into tracking your goals, tracking your wins, making sure that you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, making sure that you show up for other people better, making sure that you work on your energy, making sure that you look after all of the things that make us tick, avoiding negative press, making sure that we're feeding our body with like good food, nutrition, making sure that we're hydrated, making sure that we get to bed at a good time and we're not faffing about on our phones till God knows what time in the morning and getting up at silly o'clock because you've got work. All of those things can help you become unstuck, and that's what we want for you. The next one, again, one of my favorite ones, I trust myself now. And the most recent kind of evidence to show me that, oh shit, yeah, I do trust myself, was just this last weekend. I walked on stage for a really good friend of mine's personal well-being event up north, and I was doing it in the middle of my keynote about how to break through limiting beliefs. And halfway through the presentation crashed behind me. I didn't have my slides anymore, and I knew, because of the work that I'd done and the stories that I could tell, and almost like a bit of a invincibility of, I don't really care anyway. Like, not in a sense that I didn't care that my speech wasn't very good. I wanted it to be brilliant. I wanted it to, because it was my friend's event and I really respect him and I wanted to absolutely smash it for him. But I didn't care that people were like getting all squeamish because my presentation had crashed, because I'd practiced it enough and I knew the stories that I was going to tell to be able to get by, which meant and proved that I had faith and trust within myself. And it may be trust within myself to just deliver a course, but I think it goes deeper than that. I felt like it went deeper than that. It was almost a sense of unfuckwithableness that was like, yeah, okay, this has happened. What next? So that's another one. Self-development will help you trust yourself way, way more. Next one. Stop repeating. It will help you stop repeating the same patterns and same mistakes. So, whether that be your diet, maybe the start, like it was for me, the start of your self-development starts with your health, your wellness, and your fitness. And again, something that I can help you with. Maybe it starts with the fact that you want to have a healthier mindset and healthier mental health. Maybe that starts with deleting people from your social media that don't give you good vibes. Maybe it starts with not watching the news. That could be a pattern and a mistake that you are making on a day-to-day basis that you want to get rid of. Maybe it is the fact that you spend 10 hours a day on your phone. And one of the things that kills me the most, and something that I would have been guilty of years ago, is saying that I don't have time for stuff, but then if you check somebody's phone, you see that they've got 8 hours screen time, and let's just say 7 hours of that is social media or WhatsApp. You can't tell me you don't have time for something if your screen time is that high. And there's no argument to that. I know there'll be some, you can't judge me on my screen time. You kind of can. Next one. You respond to life instead of constantly reacting to it. A little bit similar to the one at the start because you want to stay balanced, but this can be things like when I learnt about the chimp paradox and the computer and the human, it's made a massive difference for me because I learnt that actually my initial reaction to stuff wasn't necessarily me. And it wasn't until I learnt to give that like 5-10 second pause before I gave a reaction to something enabled me to handle this way better. And again, by the way, this isn't me saying that I'm perfect, but I'm better, and that's what the idea of this is. I don't get pissed off by people cutting me up in traffic anymore. I don't get pissed off by the TV or internet not working anymore. But there are things that will still annoy me, and I need to work on them as well. But, you know, that's okay. This is about us becoming better versions of ourselves, from starting your journey to get from 0 or maybe even 10 to 100, or your version of 100%. That's why it's really important. One of this most amazing, like, kind of thought processes I can leave you with today is number 8, which is so your future self has something to thank you for. If I could go back and like pat on the shoulder the lad that went for the mile run before the cup final to start my journey in fitness and well-being, if I could go back and shake the hand of the lad that decided to do something about the fact that he was depressed on Christmas Day, I would do that. I am so thankful for the person I was to be brave enough to make a decision on the fact that I needed to do something about my fitness and my mental health. And if I weren't to do that, I don't know what kind of person I'd be right now. But all I know is that I've changed, and I have evidence to show personally and through impact to others with fundraising, with the events that I've done, with the experiences that I've been able to share with other people, with the growth I've been able to offer the platform to other people to do. Again, I've not done the work for them, but I've given the platform for them to strive from. I'm so grateful for that opportunity, and the only person that I can thank there, yes, I can thank my coaches, yes, I can thank my parents for the support, but I did the work myself as well. So you could do that. It could be you. Imagine your story in 10 years or 5 years. If you were to just start those things that you keep putting off and don't have time for, in inverted commas, what kind of person you would be in 5 years and what you'd have achieved. It would genuinely knock your socks off. Number 9, you break through your limitations and limiting beliefs. This is my thing at the minute. My latest kind of big keynote is everybody's got them. We did a thing on the weekend where everybody raised their hand if they'd experienced the thought, like, I've told myself I can't do something without any real evidence that you can or you can't. You said you start Monday and you wouldn't. All of those kind of things. All of those little niggly excuses that sometimes you are that much on autopilot for you and are repeated that much within your brain, you don't even know that they're there sometimes. They just kind of happen. And when we start to take note of them, when we start to write them down, when we start to think about them, when we start to take action on them, most importantly, you can start proving some of them wrong. And when you can start proving some of those limiting beliefs wrong, you replace those limiting beliefs with positive ones, which mean that you are more capable and have more proof behind you that you can maybe take on the limiting beliefs that are very much holding you back. So, for example, for me, it was the weight loss. I thought that I was always a big lad, and I proved to myself that it wasn't just that I was a big lad, and I could lose weight if I followed the actions towards it. So I beat that limiting belief of, big boned, slow metabolism, thinking that I was just always going to be a big guy, and they weren't true. I mean, I'm 6'1" and I'm still 100 kg, but I'm not 135 or whatever it is, 135 to 138, which I was before. I then, when I proved that wrong, needed to prove the running stuff wrong. I couldn't run a mile. I then didn't think that I could maybe run 5k, ran 5k, 10k, half marathon to ultra marathon. Again, I talk about this like it's a small achievement. It's really not, because so many people have that thought. You don't have time and you don't think you can. And they are thought processes that you need to take note of, because they are holding you back. They are keeping you stuck. And when you can break through those, the magic happens. Final one for today. I love that even though I said this in a post the other day, my podcast isn't the size of Joe Rogan's. My YouTube channel also isn't the size of Joe Rogan's. I'm not a level 5 personal trainer. I'm not a nutritionist that is skilled with a PhD, and I don't know the latest studies on protein and enzymes and maybe even GLP-1 medication. But what I do know is that I have also evidence that I have left the world a little bit better than how I found it, because of the journey that I've started. I've shared my journey, I've shared my experience and my small qualifications with other people, and that has led them to go on their own journey. So in turn, I've left the world better than I found it. And I want to continue to do that with these podcast episodes. Not for everybody, because some people won't like the stories that I've told today on this show. But some of you listening will be like, oh shit, yeah, those 10 things, he's right. Or 4 of the things, he's right. I need to do something about that. And if you feel like that today, then tell me in the comments which one of those is the one that meant the most to you and has hit home a little bit for you. Is it you want to leave the world a better place than you found it? Is it you want to become personally someone you can trust to yourself? Is it because you want to give other people a better version of you? Let me know in the comments. I wanted to share this with you today because I think it's so important that with the surroundings of the media and what's going on in the world, and the fact that a lot of people like to blame outside circumstances, and it doesn't mean that things are your fault that are going on outside of you, but we can take a little bit more responsibility. And when you take responsibility on your life and in what direction you want to go in, you can have a way more profound impact on what you really thought. You can impact way more people. You can impact yourself way more than what you thought you could. So, what story have you been treating like a fact? Let's do something about that today. Because when you can challenge that story, it will change your life for the better. If you have enjoyed today's episode of 100% Podcast, make sure you like and subscribe below. And go and check out my other episodes, because there's way more tools and episodes and conversations that can help you with your own journey from 0 to 100. I'll see you here for an episode most Fridays. Take care.